So today we are going to discuss about encapsulation. For example, if you see, we have seen two things. One is tablet in medical terminology, okay? Tablet and capsule. So what is the difference between these two? If you see, a tablet is the same component. Here, in capsule, we'll be having the mix of components. So there would be two, three different components. We made it like a mix like this, and there will be something like green, pink, orange. Some colors will be there inside the capsule. So, what is the reason behind this in making this tablet, which is a single component? For example, paracetamol, it's a tablet, and a capsule, for example, if you go for a Bandy or cold act. Okay, so we'll get in the form of capsule. The reason behind this is there are multiple components. For example, if you take a cold act, okay, so there are different functionalities it should work. That can be a cold, cough, body pains. These are all the different scenarios it should cover. But if you take like a single unit, it will function well. That's the reason they made it like a capsule. Similarly, in our why this is required here to discuss about our encapsulation, wrapping up data. So there are two things, data and function into one single unit is called encapsulation. Combination of data and function into one single unit. If you made it, then it called a encapsulation. What is the example in C# for encapsulation? Class. What is class? Class is a combination of members plus method. Class is a combination of members plus method. So one of the examples for encapsulation. Likewise, we have one more example called struct. Structure. Class and struct. These are all the examples for encapsulation. Here we are wrapping up data and method into single unit. Now, for example, I'll create a class bird, public void fly. This is method. And I'll create one member, public string bird name. This is property. So now what is a class? Class is a combination of this is member, this is method. Now what is encapsulation? Wrapping up data and function. Data is nothing but member. We'll also call it as a data member. Method will also call it as a member function. Combination of data member function is nothing but class. What is encapsulation? Wrapping up data and function or method into a single unit is called encapsulation and showcase. Now, like example, class and struct. These are the two examples for encapsulation. Now, what is struct is also similarly like a class. Let's see how to create a struct program. So now how to create a struct. Similarly, like class, for struct also we'll create struct name person. See my struct name. So here ID name. So there are some properties. I have some fields. Now what I'll do, I'll use a main class. So I'll create one more class here. Class or anything. Okay. For example, class program. So now, so similarly, like class struct also we can create object. Okay, person will create the object. Now main method I'll take inside that person. I'll create one object dot id equals to one person dot name dot title wait. Yes. So it is necessary to initialize person equals to in class. When it is a class, for class, new keyword is mandatory. For struct, it's optional. Without new keyword also. For example, here we use new keyword. We can use that. Here, without new keyword, we are using it. Without new keyword also, we can use structure. But for a class, it's mandatory to use that. And for structure, it's optional. Now, console dot write line rsn dot id, like that we can display. Console dot read or read. So this is how we'll create the structure. And for structure, it is similarly like class, which will have the data members and methods both. Like this, we can have methods as well. Okay. Struct also similarly like class, which will have the both members and methods. And the struct is can be initialized without new keyword also. Here new keyword is not mandatory. Next. So next, what is the difference between class and struct? So we have seen both now. And what's the difference? Why we go for class? Why we go for struct? In which scenario we go for a struct versus class? Let's see now some basic differences. Class is a struct is a value type. Okay, class is a reference type. All value types use stack memory. What is stack memory? If you know, fine. Otherwise, we will cover in later sessions. Stack memory is one of the data structures, how we are going to store the data in the stack. Okay. We will see in further classes in detailed information, but have a basic information. Star all the structures like primitive data types and enum, struct. These are all the value types. All the value types uses stack memory to store the value type of information. We'll use stack memory. And this reference type, so it uses heap memory. Reference type use heap memory. And struct to manage small amount of data. Usually, when we want to manage small amount of data, that particular scenario will go for the struct. And when we want to manage large amount of data, we go for class. Next, struct. What else? Struct. It's value type, it's reference type. It's use stack memory, it use heap memory to manage small amount of data, and class to manage large amount of data. And struct new keyword is not mandatory to initialize object. New keyword mandatory to initialize object. Here also. Here it is mandatory. Where in class. In structure, it's optional. So this is the basic difference. Based on this scenario, we can go for either struct or class. So what is encapsulation? Wrapping up data and function into single unit is called encapsulation. Encapsulation can be achieved in two ways. Either if you create a class, then it's an encapsulation. If you create a struct, it's also an encapsulation. These are the two ways to achieve encapsulation in C#. Now, so there are access modifiers in C#. Okay? We have to know what are access modifiers. We have access modifiers like this: private, protected, private, protected, internal, protected internal, public. These are all the access modifiers we have. Okay, in C#, access modifiers in C#. So now let's see one by one. So private. By default, if you don't assign any data type to fields or variables or a method, by default, it will consider as a private. Okay. Now, Let's see one by one how to create this. There is namespace, my namespace. See guys here carefully. I'll try to add one. Right click, add. So right click, add new project. I'll take a class library. Click on next. Class library 1. Let it be same name. So I'll create a class library here like this. In that there is a class name called class 1. I'll make it as a bird. Okay, I have a class called bird in the class library 1. So this is public class, and then I have a class parrot. Okay. So here I'll take private int bird ID. So there is a ID called bird ID. Okay. So now this bird ID I try to access outside of the class. For example, parrot. Okay. So I'll create one variable and I'll create one private void get bird ID. Bird plus concept abstraction bird ID. Something like this. I have a method. Now this is parrot, right? So in this class, I'll try to access bird. It's a public class. What I do? Bird equals new bird. Bird dot. So if I try to access this members bird ID, if I try to access this, it won't allow. Why? Because it's a private member, can't be accessed outside of the class. Private only within the class. Okay, so private only within the class and outside we can't access it. Okay, now so this is private variable. Once we declare a private variable, we cannot access outside, only within the class, either a variable or a method. So this is the first access modifier. So second, we have a protected. So before going to learn the protected, we have to know access modifier. within class, derived class, within space, derived class, other class, or non-derived class within namespace or assembly. Other namespace or assembly, non-derived class in other namespace or assembly. So these are all the access modifiers. Now, so when we have a private within class, we can able to access yes. Derived class in other namespace anywhere we cannot access. Okay, that is private. So this is non-derived class. Let's assume it's a derived from word. This is a derived class. And this is non-derived class from word. This is within assembly. There is derived class and there is non-derived class. In both the places also, we can't access the private member. So for example, other namespace, for example, this one program. Okay. So let's assume one class eagle. Let's assume this is derived from bird. So to that, we need to access the namespace. How to add that? Add reference to the class library. Now what will happen? It will add the namespace using class library one like that, so that we could able to access the bird properties here, that class. Okay. This is eagle is derived from bird, and let's assume we'll take one more class. Pigeon, which is not derived from bird. So now this is private, and I'll give protected now. So protected int age, some property I'll take. What? Get color. Some method I have. Now I'll try to access this. Not accessible since it's private. So here also, let's assume if I try to access this, you can't access here. You can't access here as well. So now what I'll do, let's comment it out, because it will give the error. Now let me try the protected one. Okay, how to do that? bird dot let's take some method. Bird dot age. So for this, what you need to do, you have to initialize with your child class. Now, bird dot age equals 1. Next, bird dot get color. We're going to get the properties like this. So now, so these things I'll try to access here. So similarly like this, I'll try to give this outside the namespace. What it is saying, not accessible. Since it's not derived class. So similarly, I'll try to access in the program class. Very important. Listen carefully. Here, since it is a derived, here also we will go equal equals to new equal. Now here we could able to access. Here it's not accessible due to its production level. So protected means we can access within the class. Within the class, we can able to access, yes. And derived class within the namespace means, so what is within the class bird in our reference? Parities. Derived class within the namespace. Peacock, non-derived class within the namespace. Eagle. Asian. Now, what is protected? Within the class and derived class within namespace or within assembly or outside assembly also, but it should be a derived class. This is protected. Now, similarly, I'll take internal property, internal method. So now I'll try to access this tool. Let's take string. Okay. These two things within the class we can able to access. Okay. Now what I'm trying to access these two things. Why we give protected? It should be internal, right? Just so we are not accessing that. Internal. Okay. Now, so if it is a internal means within assembly, if it is derived or non-derived also, we can able to access internals. Since it is a internal property. For example, I want to access this outside. So now, why protected things are missing here? What is protected? Age and color. Age and color. That is there. Okay. So since it is a internal means within the namespace and within assembly also only. If it is derived also outside, it cannot be accessible. Means internal within namespace or assembly only. Outside we can't access this. This is internal. Now how to create internal? Let's see now. Internal we have created here. Protected. Derived class, yes. Non-derived class, no. Derived class outside assembly, yes. Remaining, no. Next, we have internal. Within class, yes. Derived class within namespace, yes. Derived class outside namespace, sorry. Derived class, non-derived class within namespace, yes. But outside, it is no. That is internal. Internal means within. Next, we have one more called protected internal. We have these two. Now, within the class, likewise, we will create. Now, okay. So now let's see. Let's try to access this. Where I'll try to access within the assembly derived class, within the assembly non-derived class. Yes, both the places I can able to access because it's a protected plus internal, protected internal. Now, so internal property we can't access outside the class. Let's comment it. So I'll try this two now. Protected internal. So internal things we can't access. So now protected internal, protected plus internal. Since it is a protected, we can access outside the class. Since it is internal, we can access anywhere within the namespace. But outside namespace, we can't access this. Okay, guys. Now, means protected plus internal means all classes within assembly we can able to access and derived class in other assembly we can able to access. So this is protected internal. Now, protected internal within the class, yes. Derived class within the assembly, yes. Non-derived class also yes, because it is internal. Since it is a protected, we can able to access here, but outside no. Next, we have a public. No restriction, we can access anywhere. Public. Yes, 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 yes. See now? Let's turn on yes. So now, if I have a public, public string color get set public void live. So that right line. The bird is flying. So these two properties I have. Now, how can I access? Anywhere, no restriction. I can access anywhere within the assembly, outside assembly, wherever I want. Public bird dot color was some green. It's a string, right? Dot method like we can have the access. We're gonna have the access. We're gonna have the access. And here also we can able to access only the public one.